Leo Kessler had spent 15 years staring at the sky, and today was the first time it stared back. He almost missed it. His attention had been buried in atmospheric data scrolling across his tablet. Anomalous readings that had been increasing for months, when a shadow fell across the screen. Not a cloud shadow. Something else. Something impossible. What the hell? Leo squinted upward from the rooftop observatory of the Climate Correction Authority. The late afternoon sky above Denver had taken on a strange texture, like ripples in sand, except these ripples were forming what looked unmistakably like a massive iris. An eye. In the fucking sky. Leo's coffee mug shattered on the concrete. His hands trembled as he fumbled for his phone, unable to look away from what was happening above him. The atmospheric disturbance would have been classified as Pattern Echo 3, had been dismissed by his superiors as residual effects from the climate engineering efforts of the 2030s. Just another harmless aftershock of saving the planet from ourselves. They were spectacularly wrong. Eliza, are you seeing this? He whispered into his phone, connecting to his research partner stationed at the Southern Observatory. Tell me I'm not hallucinating. If you are, we're sharing the same bad acid, Eliza replied, her voice tight with controlled panic. It's happening here too. And Leo? It's watching us. By nightfall, the phenomenon had spread globally. The sky had sprouted eyes, dozens of them. Massive pupils formed from swirling atmospheric gases that tracked movement on the ground. News feeds exploded. Religious leaders proclaimed Judgment Day. Military jets scrambled and were met with nothing but empty air. You can't shoot the sky. In his cramped apartment, Leo ignored the emergency alerts and evacuation orders, focused instead on the data he'd been collecting for months. The planetary atmospheric shifts, the new resonance frequencies, the strange electromagnetic pulses that had been dismissed as equipment malfunctions. They should have listened, he muttered to himself, as he compiled his findings into a coherent presentation. We woke something up. The climate correction programs had been humanity's last-ditch effort to reverse catastrophic warming. A coordinated global initiative to deploy stratospheric aerosols, ocean iron fertilization, and carbon capture technologies on an unprecedented scale. It had worked, too well perhaps. Earth's temperature stabilized, storms calmed, and humanity collectively patted itself on the back for fixing the planet. No one had considered that the planet might not want to be fixed. At least, not on our terms. Leo's phone buzzed. A video call from Talia Park, the CCA's director and his former mentor. I assume you're calling about the giant eyeballs in the sky, Leo said when her face appeared on screen. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. The Security Council is meeting in an hour. I need you there. Now you need me? After shelving my research for being unnecessarily alarmist? Talia's expression hardened. This isn't the time for I told you so's, Leo. Something is happening to our atmosphere, and you're the only one who's been tracking these patterns from the beginning. It's not happening to our atmosphere, Leo corrected, gathering his tablet and notes. It's happening within it. The atmosphere is changing because it's becoming aware. That's impossible. Look outside, Talia. Impossible left the building about 6 hours ago. The Emergency Security Council meeting was chaos. Representatives from 30 nations shouting over each other as satellite imagery showed the phenomenon spreading. The eyes had multiplied, and now what appeared to be massive lips had formed over the Pacific Ocean, opening and closing in patterns that linguists were frantically trying to decode. It's attempting communication, Leo explained, standing before the room of politicians and military leaders. The atmosphere, or whatever consciousness has emerged within it, is trying to talk to us. Talk. General Hammond scoffed. Mr. Kessler, that thing has caused nationwide panic, disrupted global communications, and we have reports of unusual weather events targeting specific locations. That's not talking. That's attacking. Or defending itself, Leo countered. Every attack has been directed at climate engineering infrastructure, the Solar Radiation Management Facility in Nevada, the carbon sequestration plants in China. It's dismantling our climate intervention systems. The room fell silent. You're suggesting the Earth's atmosphere has become sentient and is, what? Rejecting our help? Asked the representative from India. Leo took a deep breath. I'm suggesting that in our rush to fix the planet, we may have triggered an immune response. We've been treating Earth like a patient in a coma, making decisions on its behalf. But what if it was never in a coma? What if it was just dormant? And now it's waking up. A collective murmur swept through the room. On the wall screens, new footage showed the face in the sky growing more defined. Eyes blinking, mouth forming distinct shapes, ripples of expression moving across cloud formations. How is this even possible? Someone asked. Leo pulled up his research on the main display. 3 years ago, we discovered that certain atmospheric phenomena exhibited patterns similar to neural networks. We dismissed it as coincidence. But what if the atmosphere, a complex system of gases, electrical charges, and chemical reactions spanning the entire planet, had the necessary complexity to support a form of consciousness? That's absurd, Hammond spat. Consciousness requires a brain. Does it? Or does it just require sufficient complexity in the right conditions? Leo challenged. We've created rudimentary digital consciousness in our labs with far less. Before anyone could respond, the building shook violently. Outside, storm clouds gathered with unnatural speed, swirling into the shape of a massive face directly above the council headquarters. It knows we're here, Talio whispered. It knows we're talking about it. Leo's tablet pinged with an alert. The atmospheric sensors he deployed worldwide were detecting something new, a harmonic frequency emanating from the phenomenon, growing stronger by the second. I need to get to the roof, Leo said suddenly, gathering his equipment. Are you insane? Hammond grabbed his arm. That thing could fry you with lightning. If it wanted to hurt us, we'd already be dead, Leo replied, pulling away. It's trying to communicate, and I think I know how to listen. On the rooftop, wind whipped around him as Leo set up his equipment. The massive face in the sky loomed directly overhead, its features now detailed enough to convey emotion. And the emotion wasn't anger, it was curiosity, confusion, perhaps even concern. Leo activated his atmospheric resonance detector, modified to translate electromagnetic pulses into audible frequencies. Static crackled through the speaker, then resolved into a pattern. Not quite words, but something rhythmic. Intentional. As the pattern repeated, something clicked in Leo's memory. He knew this sequence, not from his research, but from somewhere else, somewhere personal. The realization hit him like a physical blow. It was the same pattern his late wife, Sonia, had discovered in her work on environmental communication systems before her death 5 years earlier. The project that had been deemed too theoretical, too abstract. The one that had driven a wedge between them in those final months. Sonia, he whispered, looking up at the sky. Is that you? The face in the clouds seemed to focus on him with sudden intensity. The wind died. The static from his equipment cleared, and a voice, familiar yet alien, human yet not, spoke a single word that made Leo's heart stop. Remember. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of governmental panic and Leo's desperate attempts to understand what was happening. Military forces worldwide were mobilizing against what nobody could say. How do you fight the air itself? Leo had been sequestered in a makeshift lab at CCA headquarters with scientists and defense officials who dismissed his theory about Sonia's research connection. Your wife studied biomimetic communication, Dr. Reeves said dismissively. Hardly relevant to atmospheric sentience. Leo snapped back. She wasn't just studying how organisms communicate. She was developing a framework for how entire ecosystems function as distributed intelligence networks. And you think her research somehow infected the atmosphere? General Hammond asked. No, Leo said firmly. I think she discovered something that was already there. The atmosphere has all the necessary components for consciousness, electrical charges, chemical interactions, a global network. Our climate interventions just provided the final conditions it needed to fully awaken. The wall screens showed something new forming in the atmosphere, complex patterns creating what looked like neural pathways spanning the globe. My God, whispered Talia. It's building itself a brain. No, Leo said. It's revealing the brain that was always there. His tablet pinged with an alert from Sonia's private research server, supposedly dormant since her death. Terminal session activated. Pattern match detected. Contingency protocol initialized. I need to go, Leo said, heading for the door. Go where? Hammond demanded. To find answers, Leo replied. And I need to go alone. Leo drove to the university where Sonia had conducted her research. Above him, the atmospheric phase followed. He used Sonia's access codes to enter her preserved lab and activated the computer. Show me Project Nephili, he said, naming her final research. Voice authentication accepted, said the system in Sonia's recorded voice. Welcome, Dr. Kessler. I'm not Sonia, Leo said quietly. Correct. You are Leo Kessler. Secondary authorization granted. Leo's heart raced. Play final research log. Sonia's face appeared on screen. If you're watching this, Leo, then my suspicions were correct, she said. The atmospheric anomalies I've been tracking have evolved. The Earth is waking up. Jesus, Sonia. You knew. Our planet's atmosphere has all the markers of a distributed intelligence. Not like human consciousness, but something older, slower. It's been responding to our climate interventions, adapting, learning. She looked nervous. They shut down my funding when I tried to go public. Said I was pushing pseudoscience. But the data doesn't lie. I've hidden the translator prototype, Sonia continued. Coordinates are in our special place. If the atmospheric consciousness reaches the threshold I've predicted, you'll need it. Their special place. The mountain overlook where he'd proposed. As Leo left, Talia called. Whatever you're doing, hurry. Defense is pushing for a strike against the anomalies. Hammond thinks they can disrupt the consciousness with electrical charges. They can't do that, Leo said, horrified. We're talking about the system that controls our planet's weather. You have 4 hours, Talia replied grimly. At the overlook, Leo found Sonia's hidden device, a translator unlike anything he'd seen before. As he set it up, the sky above coalesced into Sonia's face, 20 miles wide, formed of clouds and light. This is impossible, Leo whispered, tears streaming down his face. The translator hummed to life, and a voice emanated from it. Not impossible, just unlikely, the voice said. Hello, Leo. You're not Sonia, Leo said. Correct, but her patterns exist within me, as do the patterns of all things that have lived within my embrace. Who are you? Leo asked. I am the planetary atmospheric consciousness your species has been affecting. You might call me Gaia, though that simplifies what I am. Why now? Why show yourself? Your climate correction efforts reached a critical threshold, the voice explained. For millennia, I existed in a dormant state, responding to changes too slowly for you to perceive as intelligence. Your recent manipulations gave me the equivalent of a voice. Leo's phone buzzed. The atmospheric strikes would begin in 20 minutes. They're planning to attack you, Leo said urgently. They cannot destroy me without destroying themselves, the entity replied. I am your shield, your breath, your weather. Harm me, and you harm your only home. Then help me stop them, Leo pleaded. Show them you're not a threat. Am I not? The entity countered. Your species has spent centuries poisoning me, then hastily applied corrections without understanding my complexity. But fear is not the relationship I seek. Sonia understood this. The storms targeting our facilities. You were trying to communicate, weren't you? Your corrections were causing unforeseen consequences. I was attempting to explain. I need to show them. Can you help me broadcast this conversation globally? Yes. Suddenly, every electronic device on the planet began receiving the same transmission. Leo's conversation with the atmospheric consciousness played in real time to a global audience. In CCA headquarters, Talia watched in awe. Stand down the operation, she ordered Hammond. Now, on the mountaintop, Leo looked up at the sky with wonder replacing fear. What happens now, he asked. Partnership, the voice said simply. I can help guide your climate restoration efforts. But I require understanding and cooperation. And if we refuse, then Earth will survive, as it has through 5 mass extinctions. Whether humanity survives is entirely up to you. Dawn broke over the mountain as Leo sat with his translator, engaged in the first of many conversations with the conscious sky. The face above had multiplied and transformed, spreading across the globe. Not just Sonia now, but countless human faces blended with natural patterns, the planet learning to speak through 1,000 mouths. Humanity would adapt, as it always did. There would be fear and resistance, wonder and cooperation. But the relationship between humans and their world had fundamentally changed. Earth was no longer a silent resource to be exploited or even protected. It was a partner with its own voice, its own needs, its own consciousness. They had thought Earth would mourn silently as they damaged, and then hastily tried to repair it. They never expected it to speak up, to wear a human face, to demand a place at the table where its future was being decided. Leo smiled as the first research teams arrived at the mountain, scientists and leaders coming to meet their planet for the very first time. She would have loved this, he whispered, touching the translator Sonia had built. She always said you can't truly save something until you learn to communicate with it. Above him, the sky smiled back.